for these because I'm usually in the youth group. So if something goes wayward, I apologize.
It's okay. You can blame me. It'll be all right. So, as Pastor Carey opened, and you can see up on the screen, it says biblical servanthood. Uh, that has been something that's been put on my heart since the very first couple weeks of being a Christian. When I first was saved, it was only 2 weeks into that my wife started serving at our church down in San Diego that was doing 2 services. And as it was doing 2 services and she was singing on stage for 2 services every single week, I started recognizing that since we're carpooling, as we had one car, that means I'm at the church for 2 weeks as well, or 2 services as well. So I might as well find a way to be useful. Is where I found it to begin with. Since then, there's been a lot of conviction on serving and serving God and His people well. So first question, hey, clicked, it worked. All right. So first question is, who should serve? I'd like to, as I just started, I'd like to give a couple examples of what serving looks like in our lives right now. I serve this church as part of the elders board. My wife serves nearly every weekend right there in the tech booth, making sure the words get up on the stage and things. I also, as I'm sure all of you have heard me and seen me wave my arm when they start talking about men on fire, I bring men and open up the backyard for men to be able to come and have a safe space, and be able to talk to one another and really connect in a way that we don't always get to on Sunday morning directly following church. I love the bit about this community that we get together after service and we actually sit down and talk, but sometimes we just need just a touch more time, and that's where the campfires came into play. It's red. That's you.
Oh, I didn't know we were jumping that fast. Sorry. For myself, I don't even remember what year it was, but we serve with Run to Rescue, and that ministry has been around for I think 11 or 12 years now. And I was invited to come to a dinner. I was hesitant. We would just donate to them and wouldn't really do much past that, but we got involved. We went to the dinner, and I was just floored by what Run to Rescue does. They help girls who have been sexually trafficked. They have helped girls on the street. We've actually done sting operations where we go with the LAPD and just talk to them, let them know that we're here for them. But recently they've done a Saturday, like 2 Saturdays out of the month. We do Bible highlighting. We've packed backpacks full of stuff to be able to give to girls. I'm also considered a caseworker with Run to Rescue, so I get to go see girls in their foster homes. And we actually at one point were able to house a girl for a couple of years, and that was amazing and not something I ever thought I would do, that we would do, but it was a huge blessing. And every season that we've been through has helped us to grow in more ways than I could have ever imagined. And so many seasons that we've been through that God has walked us through, and I knew we were supposed to walk through it, but at the time and going through the chaos of the season, it didn't make sense. But because of it, we're here. So.
Yeah, and I turned it. Oh, there it is. That took a while. Okay, sorry. Also, for those of you who know me and have talked to me a bit, I also serve with Kairos. Kairos is a prison ministry. It's international, but the faction that I worked with was down in San Diego. And Kairos, we would go into the prison and we would go for 4 days, Thursday through Saturday, and we would serve alongside some of the inside guys who had already been through the program, and we would serve alongside guys who were in prison to serve up to 40 inmates who either didn't know God or were not walking with God at the time. And for those 4 days, if you could imagine feeding 40 to 50 inmates for 4 days straight, it takes a lot of food, and it takes a lot of dedication and time and supplies, and there's a lot to go into that. Since moving up to Menifee here, my ministry has changed in that, and my serving has changed in that. I no longer go down every week. I don't see the men every week and keep that continuing ministry. But what I've found that I can do is I can help them with logistics. I'm able to build out, go down on the weekends here and there, and I can build out, I think we have, if my numbers are right, I think 50 or 48 large Rubbermaid totes. And we fill out 48 Rubbermaid totes so that we can have them prepared for when those 4-day weekends go. So what I'm trying to get at here is we are serving people. And in doing so, we are serving God to people. We are serving Him by serving Him out to other people. And that's really what the heart of this message is going to be today. Next question. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
He did the outline. He did a great job. We are blessed to be part of the Awakening Church, but more importantly, we are a part of the church of God. How about you? Do you serve, and should you?
So the next question we have here is, why should we serve? Matthew 25, 35 through 36, I realize that we are probably sitting directly in the middle of it, but I'm sure by reading the top couple lines, you guys have seen this verse before.
So Matthew 25:35 says, "For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me." And then verse 40 says, "The king will reply, 'Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me.'" And often we look at this verse, it's saying, did you do it or did you not do it? And I wonder that if we switch the tenses in the verses from future tense statement to a present tense, we could say, "For this person was hungry, for I was hungry, and you actually gave me something to eat." But we could change it and say, "Will you feed me? Will you give me water? Will you invite the stranger in? Will you clothe the needy? Will you care for the sick? Or will you visit those in prison?" If we look at all humanity as an image bearer of God, we may treat those in need differently.
In Galatians 5:13, it says, "For you were called to freedom, brothers and sisters. Only do not use your freedom as an opportunity to the flesh, but through love serve one another." And I ask, does anybody offhand know what the very next verse is? "For the entire law was fulfilled in one command, love your neighbor as yourself." This is the great command from God, to love your neighbors as if you loved yourself. Everybody in here feeds themselves and clothes themselves and take care of themselves. Will you do so for those who need?
The next one is, how should we serve? The thing about serving is you can't do it alone. Well, I guess you could for a while, but that's when one of those old-fashioned church terms comes into play. We all get burnt out. If you think you're able to serve people day to day, week to week, month to month, without assistance and tapping into the power from God, you will burn out. I've been there, done that way too many times.
When we're serving other people, prayer is a prerequisite for you non-military folk. On the days that I go down to Kairos, to do the logistics, I spend time on the drive there, or when I first show up, to pray over the men who are in prison, to remind myself who it is that I'm serving. When I'm putting those Rubbermaid totes together, I'm 25 miles away from any man in prison. I'm not there in front of them. I don't see them. But if I don't remind myself of who it is that I'm serving, I quickly run out of energy. I don't have it in me to continue doing that. Those are the days that I'm like, you know what, there's plenty of people who live here in San Diego who can do this. Why am I driving down to do it? Am I really even being fed by being a part of this ministry right now? And all of that is due to the fact that I have not tapped into his power and his ability to be there with me. But on those days that I do pray, I recognize that I drive more than that every week going to work. Okay? And if I'm going to go to work, why can't I go down and serve people who need to know who Jesus is? So Jesus is the very best example of servanthood. Everybody can agree to that. Sometimes his example, though, it just feels so far out of reach. One thing I'd like for you to think about is that the action of serving is really only a small part of it. More important than the action of serving is the attitude while serving. Here are some of the shortfalls that us non-God people will typically fall into.
Meeting a need is more important than getting recognition for it.
So often we find ourselves upset that we're not getting payment for the service that we provide. I mean, we're Americans, right? When we do something, we want to get paid for it. Like, that's just the American dream. Like, we do that because that's how our world has twisted his request for us.
Your heart's attitude towards those in need should be love and not pity.
That one's hard for me. There's been 100 times that serving in the prison and serving with Run to Rescue and serving with those truly needy people, I have legitimately had to give myself a heart check because I started to pity the people in front of me in the idea that they don't have, that's why I'm here. You know, and it's just like, it's such a weird position to put yourself, like, I can't be the only one thinking that when serving people. I know when I'm not full of God, those are the kinds of thoughts that continue to pour into me.
Serving people does not make you greater than them.
Kind of aligns with the last one, doesn't it? It's dangerous thinking about all those men in prison that I've been serving. I've been serving with the prison for about 7, maybe 8 years now, something. But I look at them, and on those days where I start, getting off kilter, I have to remind myself that they're in there because they sinned. But I've sinned. And every man who's gone into a prison to help serve men inside the prison has sinned. Every person in this room has sinned. We have all sinned in one way or another. There's many, many times where my sin was so great that I could have been and probably should have been locked up behind those bars.
Uh-huh.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Me too.
But even today in my current life, I still have sin that creeps in. And I have to continue to ask God to push that sin out and allow me to serve in humility. We would be mistaken if we didn't point to that perfect model of service to others in the Bible. Jesus modeled his service to the disciples so that they could live that way after he was gone. Anybody have an idea as to which time of history I could possibly be talking about when Jesus served? Sorry?
Heard somebody.
I heard somebody too. Go ahead. Okay. The question was, when do you think Jesus
He
modeled service?
being
Thank you.
a servant.
Modeled service to his disciples. Go ahead. There you go.
Yep.
When Jesus washing the feet of his disciples, as you just said, oops, sorry. You want to read it?
Yep, I can. The evening meal was in progress, and the devil had already prompted Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power, and that he had come from God and was returned to God. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. And here in my Bible it says that I wrote on the side, we are to help serve. We are to be with others in the mess of life.
So there's a few things that I like to focus on in this verse. One is that the meal was already in progress. Jesus was busy doing something, but then he was prompted by the Spirit, which is the second part there. Jesus was prompted by God to get up. So what did he do? So he got up. We are all busy. We all feel the stirrings. As long as we've been tapped in with God and the Spirit, we all get the stirrings to do something, to be a part of something, to go and serve somewhere, to be one with the community around us. Get up. Don't sit there. Don't continue eating. Don't continue being served. Get up. Be a part of his work in the church.
So here's some questions, and you guys can throw out answers. Whose feet did Jesus wash? Disciples. There you go. Even Judas. Well, did he walk? Wait, did he walk away though?
He did.
Oh, he did. Oh man, I gotta read better. He served those who walked alongside him. Where was he when he did it? He was serving in the place where he was fed.
So I guess that follows perfectly into this next line. Where should you serve? If you're currently not involved in serving in your home church, that is the place to start. I'm not sure if you've noticed this yet, but we have Easter coming up. Pastor just said it. If you didn't hear it then, you'll hear it again on Sunday. This means that we're going to have more visitors than we normally do. We're going to have more children than we normally do. We're going to have more people driving through the parking lots than we normally do. And when you have more people coming to the church, you need more people to serve those people coming in the church. We need people in every ministry of this church. The children's need help. The greeters need help. The security needs help. The elementary needs help. Every ministry in this church needs more able and willing bodies. Let's join up with the leaders of those groups, and let's be a blessing to them. Allow them the peace of knowing that they are covered with God's love.
Who knows? You may be the very reason they come back to the church and learn more about who Jesus is. Because we all know we like those creasters. Christmas and Easter. But you know what? Sometimes it's that small stepping stone of coming in out of duty and seeing a smiling face, and it makes you happy, and they come back. When should we serve? Why not now? We are going to pass out in your groups some of these lined papers. Write out your name and your contact information. Doesn't have to be crazy. Just make sure it's legible so I can read it and actually call you. But only if you're prompted. If you're feeling the Spirit pushing you in that direction, please, by all means, that's being obedient to what He's calling us to. And I have a hard time with obedience, I'm not going to lie. But once we get those back from you guys, Donnie and I will personally call you. We'll ask you questions, where you feel led, what
ministry is calling on your heart.
Yeah, and if you have no idea, honestly, sometimes the best way is to just do it. Just do something. You have no idea until you try. And we fail constantly, and that's how we learn. I tell my kids all the time, they're like, I don't want to do this. What is it? I get it wrong all the time. I'm like, that's how you're going to get better. You don't know until you try. But Matthew 9:37 is over here. Where did I put it?
Then he said to his disciples, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few.
Uh-huh.
We have a harvest in this church. We have the ability to bring people in who have not or may not ever get another opportunity to step into a church and worship. We have the opportunity to serve those people and love on them. Let's go ahead and focus in on that. As we normally do, let's go ahead and round up into groups of 6 to 8 people. The young adults I know are going to roll over here. I will hand out questions for everybody. I've got questions written down. And then we'll also hand out the lined paper.